Okay, and welcome to lesson 2. Today we're going to carry on looking at Roman numerals. The objective today is we want to be able to write the date in Roman numerals, or we want to be able to translate dates written in Roman numerals into a more traditional numeric format. Going to just flip into full screen. Hopefully I've sorted out some of the technical kinks from the lesson, the last lesson. So I want to just quickly recap from yesterday. What does I mean in traditional numbers? What does I mean? What does I mean? What does IV mean? Well, hopefully you realize that I is 1, I is 2, I is 3. I know I sound a bit like a pirate there. And then IV is 5 minus 1, which is 4. I'm going to ask you to write on a piece of paper your numbers from 1 to 21. Your numbers from 1 to 21. So can you pause your board and can you write the numbers from 1 to 21 in Roman numerals? Thank you. Okay, hopefully you've had a play, you've refreshed your memory from yesterday, you've got it clear in your head what each of these values mean. So then let's take that a little bit further. If we had the number LXX, what might that mean? LXX. Well, hopefully we remembered that L is 50 and X is 10 and X is 10. So we've got 50 plus 10 plus 10. We know these are pluses because they're on this side of the L. So now we're looking at 50 plus 10, which is 60, plus another 10, which is 70. So LXX is 70. What about DCC? Have a try of that. What does DCC mean? Brilliant. Hopefully you've seen same pattern here, 500 plus 100 plus another 100. So we're saying 500 plus 200, that's 700. We know it's a plus because it's on this side of our D. And lastly, what about CD? What does CD mean? We know that D is 500. We know that C is 100. What's CD? Hopefully you remembered that the C is before the D, which means it's a subtraction. So we're doing 500 take away 100, which as hopefully your brains all can manage, that means CD is 400. Okay, I've got here another date, MDCCC XXV. What does this date stand for? We're going to work through this together. So I'm just going to pull down our little kind of course 7 bits here. So we know that M is 1,000. We know that D is 500. We know that X is 10. We know that C is 100. And we know that V is 5. So that's all of the different Roman numerals that are in this code. And what we've now got to start doing is splitting it into our thousands, hundreds, tens, and ones. We know there's 1,000 there, M. And then we know that D is 500. Well, that doesn't work as a separation. So I know that my 1,000 is going to be by itself. That's 1 in thousands column. My hundreds, I've got D, C, C, and C. Well, I remember that C is 100 and D is 500. So that's 500 plus 3 100s. Otherwise, we could call it 800. Now I've got X, X, and V. I know that X is a 20. So I've got x and x. Sorry, x is a 10, so 2x's are 20. And then lastly, v. I knew that this x and v couldn't be together because it wouldn't make sense to have 5 take away 10. That's the trickiest part about Roman numerals, is working out which letters go together to be 1,000, 100, a 10, or a unit. And the only way, there is no trick to it beyond looking at it and asking, would that combination make sense? Right, let's have another try. We've got the year 1,000, or the number 1,888 in Roman numerals. What's the first thing you notice that's different about writing this in Roman numerals to writing it in more traditional numbers? Hopefully you've realized that when we write 1,888, 3 of those digits within that number are the same. Yet in Roman numerals, that's not the case. The numerals aren't the same, although the pattern is 3 C's, 3 X's, 3 I's. This is a giant number to write when we look at it, because we have to separate each of our place values in 1,888 and work out the Roman numeral. 1,000's easy. 1,000 is M. Remember, this is 800. It's in the hundreds column. 800 is slightly more complicated. D is 500 plus 100, 200, 300, 800. Now we're in the tens. So this is 80, not 8. So we've got 50 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10, 50, 60, 70, 80. And then lastly, we've got our ones. There are 8 ones. So 5 plus 3 more ones. When we put all these together, we get 1,888 written in Roman numerals. You start to see why we moved away from Roman numerals now, don't you? What year is MMXVI? What year is MMXVI? You might want to pause now while you work it out and press play once you found it. Brilliant. Hopefully you've seen that you need to separate this number out. MM is the first part of this number. X is the next part of this number. And VI. So I know that what I've actually got is 2,000. Then I've got 10. And then I've got 6. I need to combine these numbers now. The 10 and the 6, I know I can add together to make 16. 2,000 and the 16, I know I can add together to make 2016. So MMXVI is actually 2016. Have another try with this one. I'm going to leave a reminder of our numerals over here. What year does MCDLIV stand for? What year does MCDLIV stand for? Pause the video, and once you've worked it out, press play again. Right, so we know we've got M, 1,000, C, 100, D, 500, L, 50, I, 1, and V, 5. My M and my C could go together, but probably not. Let's have a look at our C and our D, more likely. Then we've got our L and our IV. So let's start thinking about, whoa, what have I done? What these actually mean. M is 1,000. Can I bring this up here so it's not in the way? CD, let's bring that. Ooh. As you can see, the computer still hates me. CD, 100 and 500. The C is in front of that 500, which means it's 100 less than 500. L is 50. And then IV is 1 less than 5. So we've got, oh gosh, what have I done there? So we've got 1,000 plus 400 plus 50 plus 4. So I can bring my 50 and my 4 together to make 54. I can bring my 54 and 400 to make 454. And I can bring all of that together to make 1,454. It seems more complicated than it is. I promise you, it's just a case of practicing this. So at the end of today's lesson, if you're still not feeling confident, I am going to ask you just to have another try at practicing. Okay, last one on this page. The person passed away at the age of XXXVI. How old was this person when he passed away? It's a little bit morbid, but... So we've got XXXVI. Again, let's think about what combinations can go together. We know the X's can go together. We know an X wouldn't go before a V because you wouldn't say 10 less than 5. So there's a gap there. We would have the V and the I together. And we know what we've got here is 3 10s plus 5 and 1, which is 6. We add those together and we see that this person was 36 when they passed away. Ooh. So we've gone through all of those questions. What I'm going to ask you to do now is go to worksheet 2, which is on page 182. Page 182. And what you're going to see are some years. I'd like you to transfer these years into Roman numerals. So you've got 1,642. I'd suggest saying them as numbers rather than saying 1642. Because by saying 1642, I'm more likely to get confused. I remember it's 1,642. Then I remember I've got to make 1,000. I've got to make 600. I've got to make 40. And I've got to make 2. When I put those numerals together, then I'll get my 1,642. So for each of these squares, there are 2 different numbers you need to make in Roman numerals. You can do those on scrap paper, or you can go to the worksheet tasks, which are going to be attached. Once you've done this page, the second page asks you to translate or transfer these years into Roman numerals as well. So when did Thailand get its independence? Well, it was 1,238. I know we would often say it's 1238, but to make life simple, 1,238, you'll need to write that in Roman numerals. 1,238. Once you've done that, that will be today's lesson over. See you tomorrow.